Hi, this is Kirslyn with Planted in Pots, and today we're going to be doing a simple DIY project. We're going to be using a basic terracotta pot and some household materials to turn this into a statement piece. For today's project, we're going to be using aluminum foil, a decoupage, antiquing wax, and some foam brushes, along with your basic terracotta pot. Before you get started, I do highly recommend putting something down that will protect your workspace, unless you're working at a workbench or something that you don't mind having decoupage and stain on it. I have this very fancy cardboard box. It works perfectly. The first step in the project is going to be to take your aluminum foil and rip it off into strips. These don't have to be identical in size, and there's really no method to it besides tearing it. As you can see, it really doesn't matter the size, shape, or anything about the aluminum foil. They don't have to be flat because the next step is going to be to crinkle them. What you're going to do is just ball them up and then uncrinkle them, so they look something like this. As you start working on your project, depending on the size of pot that you choose, whether you choose a large one or a medium one or an extra small one, you might notice that you need to adjust the size of your tinfoil strips. That's perfectly fine. You can improvise as you go, whether it be larger strips or much smaller strips. For the next step, we are going to need our decoupage. You can use whatever brand that you'd like. Here we have Mod Podge and Martha Stewart. Today, I'm going to choose to use the Mod Podge brand. That's not because of the brand. I love them both. It's just that I'm almost out of the Martha Stewart brand, and because I want to use the matte finish instead of the glossier finish that I have here. The next part in the process does get a little bit messy, so I'm going to choose to put on disposable gloves, but it is up to your personal preference. As far as the application goes for the decoupage, I usually choose one of these sponge brushes. They're less than $1 a piece, so I don't mind if the decoupage gets stuck in there and I can't get it out. You can also choose to use something like a sponge or an old paintbrush that you don't mind if it gets ruined. Starting with the shiny side out, I'm going to simply dip my sponge brush in the decoupage and paint it on the aluminum foil. You may choose to do a little bit of decoupage on the outside of the terracotta pot, although it's not necessary. You do want a healthy layer on the aluminum foil though, to make sure that it sticks. Once the decoupage is applied, of course, make sure to get all of the edges. You're simply going to stick it on the pot. You can then smooth it out, although because of the crinkleness, you don't have to completely smooth it. And then we're going to do it again. Something to pay attention to as you're applying your tinfoil strips is to make sure that you bend them over and get some on the inside of the pot. Once you put your plant in there and fill it up with soil, you don't want to see a clear definition of where the terracotta is. So you want it to look more like this so that when the soil comes up, all they see is the silver. Once your pot is completely covered in aluminum foil, we're going to do a layer of Mod Podge or any kind of decoupage around the outside of the pot to kind of seal it in. It can be a generous layer, and while you spread it, just make sure and smooth out any edges that might be flipped up. Make sure that you generously spread the Mod Podge on the bottom, as well as any pieces where you can see definition of the different strips of aluminum foil, because this is spots where it could potentially peel. So you want to make sure that that is sealed extra well with the Mod Podge. Once the outside of the pot is completely covered in a layer of Mod Podge, you're going to let it dry for about 30 minutes and then repeat the process at least once, if not twice more, depending on how thick of a layer you did and how completely sealed the aluminum foil is. After the Mod Podge has completely dried, we're on to the antiquing part. This part is actually optional. You don't need to do it. If you choose, you can let it be just this silver, but I really like the effect that the antiquing wax gives. The antiquing wax is going to give the pot a lot more definition and, I think, character, and take away some of the really shiny silver parts. And then you're going to want to take a paper towel and lightly wipe it off, exposing some of that silver and giving it the definition that we're looking for. If you make a mistake and notice somewhere that is coming up that you didn't seal well enough with the Mod Podge the first time, the good news is this is a really forgiving project. All you're going to do is another coat of Mod Podge after you complete the antiquing wax. I actually recommend this anyways, just to make sure that it's completely sealed, since we are going to be putting soil and water inside of the pot. And there you have it, your unique DIY tinfoiled and Mod Podge pot. I love this project because it really can be done on any weeknight. It's great to do with kids, and it really gives a unique statement piece that you can put anywhere in your house. You can choose to do the antiquing wax like I did, or you can leave it a shiny silver or matte silver, depending on the side of tinfoil that you used. Now the only thing left to do is put a plant in your new pot so he can be planted in pots. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe below.